Good morning, Representative Mitchell. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Good to be with you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining me today to discuss the post-legislative wrap-up. This is an interview and part of a series for the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce, and it's called Discuss DeKalb. And as you know, my name is Kendra Price. I am the co-chair of the Governmental Affairs Committee for the DeKalb Chamber, and Associate Director of Community Programs at Emory University. So let's jump right in. Can you take a moment and introduce yourself to us and tell us the area you represent?
Okay, my name is Billy Mitchell, state representative, first elected, in 2002. It's my 21st year in the state legislature. I also chair the Democratic caucus in the Georgia House of Representatives. And I represent the 88th legislative district, which is primarily Stone Mountain. I have some Lithonia, Tucker. In fact, I sponsored the legislation that created the city of Tucker, and some little bit of Gwinnett County as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And during the session, what committees were you assigned to, and what was your role?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to be on some of the most important, significant committees in the state legislature. Appropriations, which deals with how the state spends their money. Health, which perhaps sees the most legislation than any other committee. Regulated industries, which deals with alcohol, tobacco, gambling. As well as banks and banking committee. I also am, as a result of me being chair of the caucus, I'm on the ethics committee, which deals with any ethics issues of members in the legislature. And I am perhaps the ranking Democrat on most of those committees as well.
Wow, you have a full plate.
I do. There's always a challenge. We pray that God sends us challenges and he never lets me down. That's for sure. It's always a new challenge.
Yes, that's what keeps you on your feet, I'm sure.
Mm.
All right. Are there any specific bills that were of interest to you during the session?
There were so many bills this year when we talk about how Georgians vote, women's health care. Those bills were at the forefront of our deliberations this year. And certainly when we look at those kinds of legislations, I can tell you it has a greater impact on not just everyday citizens, but certainly businesses as well. And those were big fights that we had. Women's health care is in how we vote, and education is always a big issue. We were able to stop a voucher bill, which I believe to be a very bad bill. We must, in fact, do all that we can to uplift our public schools in this state. Because where there are good public schools, the economic opportunities are greater. Where there are good public schools, home values are higher. Where there are good public schools, crime is lower. So we must do as policymakers, we must invest our dollars in anything that we can do in our public schools, whether you have children or not. In the public school system, you want public schools in your community to be the best they can be because it has so many benefits. So that's always legislation that we deliberated upon this year, dealt with education, and I consider that a major victory for the state of Georgia.
Yes, that's wonderful. And I like what you said about how education influences our economics, right? Our home,
Absolutely.
the crime that we continue to see.
Absolutely. Even healthcare. You show me a community, a well-to-do community and I will show you a community that has great economic opportunities, great educational opportunities, lower crime rates, and the like. So we need to undergird that by doing everything that we can to make certain that that is the case.
Yes, yes, with that. So as we talk about economics and we talk about the chamber, is there, are you, how are you advancing economic development in your district? How are you helping with that in your particular district?
Wow, great question. And I will tell you that since being on this side of policy making, every bill, whether it specifically deals with economic opportunities or not, I look for the economic opportunity in it simply because it just means so much. Kendra, if I could tell you a little story, and if
Sure.
I take too long, you can have my wrist to cut me off. But
No.
there was a parent or a gentleman in my district. He lived very close to me, such a great supporter of mine. But he had a son that was constantly, I mean, constantly in difficulty. I can't tell you how many times I've had to write letters to judges and intervene in some near um, criminal offense for this young man. One day, the father came to me and he says, "You know, Billy, all he needs is a job. I know my son. He's a good kid. He's in these difficulties because he doesn't have a job. Can you find him a job?" Now, I knew what kind of kid he was and his near misses and the like. I was skeptical, but his father was such a good man that
Yeah.
I said, okay, let me see what I can do.
Okay.
A company I had just done a favor for. I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but I had just done a favor for one of the executives there. So I called him up and I said, "Could you please find him a job? All he needs is a job." He asked me, "What kind of person was he?" I said, "Look, his father is a great man. He's a good man." I could tell he was as skeptical as I was, but because I had just done it, he said, "All right, come, tell him to come and see me." Once I told his father to go see him, I can say, "Okay, my job is done here. I did my duty." Maybe about 6 months later, I saw his father driving by my house, and he stopped his car almost in the middle of the street, getting out his car to come to me. And I was thinking, oh, he didn't get the job, and now he's coming to me to say what happened. He came, grabbed my hand, and he said, "Thank you so very much. My son got a job, and he's doing so extremely well." Of course, Kendra, I took all the credit for it, but I immediately went inside the house and I called this executive. I said, "Hey, what happened to that young man that I sent you?" He said, "You know what? He actually tested well. And additionally, he wasn't afraid to go up into the buckets that we have in you know, heights. And so he did very well." That year, his first year on the job, because there were power outages all along the East Coast. His
Right.
first year on the job, he made a six-figure income.
Wow.
And when I talked to him, he said, "I'd love it when they send me out of state, because when they send me out of state, they pay for my food, they pay for my travel. I don't have to spend any money, and I'm making time and a half and sometimes double time." Now, that was about 12 years ago, Kendra. You should see this young man now. He dresses differently. He looks different. He married a teacher, and they
Oh,
have a child in
yeah.
private school. Now, here's a young man that went to a near miss for our juvenile, or I should say, our correctional system,
Yeah.
to he is firmly entrenched in the middle class because of an economic opportunity. And so, as a result, everywhere I go, in every policy I consider, I want to know where the economic opportunities are. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so glad to talk to you today, is because of what the chamber does in our community. I want to make sure that our businesses in our community are as healthy and as vibrant, and quite frankly, making as much money as they can. Because if that is the case, we know that there will be plenty of economic opportunities to be had.
Yes, that is very important. I love the story that you tell, and that's how we change our communities, right? That's how we build
Mhm.
our communities, rather, and change the outcomes of some of the people that live in our communities. That's really impressive.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we talk about even healthcare. It has a healthcare component. Most people who have healthcare are those who have jobs who provide
Yeah.
those kinds of benefits. Most people who are without healthcare benefits are those who are without employment.
Yes, yes. So true on all points. I really enjoy talking to you and learning more about what you do and your passions and how you help to build your own community, which reverberates, right? When you reach one, you teach one, and you build us all up when you do that. So thank you.
Well, it has a way of coming back to helping us all. No question about that, Kendra.
Yes, for sure. So with that, are there other things that you'd like to see the chamber to focus on, things that will be critical to the success of the chamber that you can point to?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things that I'd love to see the chamber get engaged with. As certainly one I mentioned, the school system. I think that it goes hand in hand. Our corporate community get involved with our educational community. There's an organization I'm with, the 100 Black Men, for instance, and we have a slogan: "They will be what they see." I would love to have opportunities, more opportunities for those who attend schools, the younger the better, to see professionals and see what they do. In many of the underserved communities, the youth, they aspire to be entertainers and athletes, and the only reason why they aspire to those vocations is because that's primarily what they see.
Yeah.
If they see other professionals and see what they do, they'll be inspired to go down that road. I saw a report not too long ago that you'd be shocked how many children of doctors become doctors, and children of lawyers become lawyers, and children of teachers who become teachers. And that's because that is what they see. And I'd love to see the corporate community get more invested in providing internship opportunities for youth in school, so to inspire them to go on to further themselves. And it doesn't necessarily have to be college. There's various vocations that they can get into, that they can make a substantial living and make a substantial contribution to society. And as an aside, I got a controversial issue that I'd love to see the corporations get into, and that is this notion of memorializing the Confederacy. I will tell you, all around Georgia, they're coming down uh, uh, quite quickly, but it's not a matter of if all this memorialization of the Confederacy will end. It's just a matter of when. And I just think it's time that we advance out of that. Stone Mountain Park, which is in the middle of my district, is the largest memorialization of the Confederacy in this world. And I will tell you that that park is just absolutely beautiful, but it can't make any money. Can't make any money. Every corporate entity that is going in there has withdrawn because of the connotation, the Confederate connotation. If we were to remove that and do some other things, it would be a great moneymaker for our community, a great wholesome family environment, which I would believe that would benefit us all.
Yes, I love Stone Mountain Park. I used to hike there every day when my son was growing up. That was
For
our
you,
thing to do on the way home.
for you.
Yes, yes. So I want to ask you a little bit about the city of Stone Mountain and how have you influenced business growth and development in the city?
hmm Well, I will tell you, I don't know if you know, prior to me serving in the Georgia legislature, I was vice mayor of the city of Stone Mountain. Some of the, where I get my passion for our community, I guess was developed right there. Um, I will tell you from a business perspective, if you were to go down Main Street, Stone Mountain, you will see a bell, the large bell there, in commemoration of Martin Luther King Jr.'s words to let freedom ring, even from Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Yes.
And I remember when I passed legislation to get that done, and we had a great press release, and we've had all kinds of media there. As a matter of fact, Martin Luther King III was there. And I remember a media personality came to me and he said to me, wow, this is a great accomplishment. What do you think Martin Luther King Jr. himself would say? You think he'd appreciate it? And I said, he would certainly appreciate the symbolism that the bell represents. But I told them, if you would look to your left, maybe about maybe 60 yards to your left, there was an ATM machine. And the ATM machine was from the Citizens Trust Bank, where I had also moved all the city's money to Citizens Trust Bank. I said that he would much prefer the example of Citizens Trust Bank ATM machine being there because it represents an economic opportunity that before was not ever granted. And so those are the kinds of things that mean much more to me than the mere symbolism, providing the economic opportunities in our city and at that time, Stone Mountain.
I love it. I love it. I pass through there sometimes and I've, always shopped there. And I
Good
just
for you.
love the little city of Stone Mountain. It's really grown over the years.
Good. Well, it's good that you rich people stop by and shop and every now and then.
There's just so much to do and it's walkable.
Absolutely. And it's a
Yes.
great city. And as a matter of fact, I tell you, we're seeing a resurgence in cities all over our county. They're doing some really great things. I think the city of Decatur is an excellent example of a well-run city and a city that is doing such great things.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Yes, yes. So I'm glad to
Mhm.
know about your work in the city of Stone Mountain. I do want to talk a little bit about, I know you were recently appointed by President Biden to serve on the Presidential Advisory Commission on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity for Black Americans. So congratulations on that appointment. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us about this appointment and the Advisory Commission?
Well, I will tell you, I serve at the pleasure of the president under the Department of Education. And I must say to you that I served as co-chair of the Biden for President campaign for Georgia, and I have been offered a number of positions, but I've often told them that I am not interested in leaving the legislature at this time. I'm not interested in moving to DC. I would be interested in something where, maybe I take a trip twice a month to serve, but I'm not interested in doing so. And this is one of the positions they offered. And I must say to you that this is a passion of mine. When we talk about the things that we talked about earlier, education is at the forefront of it. We can't have a prosperous community if we don't have great educational opportunities. And so I saw this as a great opportunity to actually put into place on the national level some great policies and suggestions to the president that would make our community better. And I just, if we can get to underserved communities, it lifts up the entire community. Where there is crime, if we decrease crime in a particular community, it would uplift our entire county because we wouldn't have to spend resources trying to deal with crime, for example. So no question about it. Education is one of those ways that we can, in fact, make a difference right away. And I'm honored to be able to serve.
I love it. I love it. Well, I just want to add that I appreciate you and all that you do every day. I am very inspired by people like yourself who we don't see on the news every day, right? Because we talked about the kids and the examples that they see, the athletes and the rappers, so to speak. But I do what I do every day because I get to meet so many wonderful people like yourself. And as I said, we're not what you see on the news. So I just want to say I do appreciate you and all the work that you do for us every day.
Well, Kendra, I will tell you, you are a shining example of a great professional and one who's invested in our community. If I ever get sick, I'm going to make sure I come to Emory only because of your engagement with.
Well, yes, and I will definitely make sure you're well taken care of. Hopefully you won't get. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, I will just end with, is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else that you'd like for us to know?
I will tell you, once again, I think the chamber is certainly fortunate to have your involvement. I would encourage others to get involved with the chamber. I would always encourage the chamber and others who view this to make sure they become advocates for good policy down at the Georgia legislature, something that the chamber does very well. The reality is you get the kind of government that you deserve every now and then, and I'm sure you hear it. There will be those who say, how come that particular community over there seems to be better served in the community over here? And I could give you all kinds of sociological excuses and reasons. But the main reason it is because the people in the well-served community are informed and engaged and involved, and the people who are in the underserved communities are uninformed, unengaged, and uninvolved. If we could miraculously pick up everyone in the underserved area and put them in the well-served area, and pick up everyone from the well-served area and put them in the underserved area, guess what would happen virtually overnight? The services would flip simply because the people who are used to being informed, engaged, and involved would continue to do so. And those who are uninformed, unengaged, and uninvolved would continue to do so. So I think, in our form of democracy, we have a responsibility to be advocates for better policy. There are some communities that just would not stand for some of the goings on in the communities that happen in other communities. And that is one of the great things about the chamber. They seek out opportunities that would benefit the corporate community. And I would encourage them to continue to do so, because that's really what makes the process work.
Indeed, indeed. Yes, I see it every day. You have to be engaged and informed, and you have to come together as a community. You just have to. That's the only way you can get things done as a community and in your community.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, it's
Well,
certainly good to be with you for sure.
Yes, you too. And I will hop off and I will call you in about 5 minutes if that's okay.
That's okay. Great.
Thank you very much. Good to
Good
see
to
you.
see you. It really is.
You too. Take care.
You do the same.
Bye.